Welcome to Ask For It, powered by Performa, the show dedicated to helping sales professionals unlock their full potential and consistently outperform the competition. Hi everyone, you're here with Ami Trivedi, and today I want to talk about customization in your sales pitches. And I know what you must be thinking right off the bat, like, I don't have time to customize my sales pitch for every single lead. And I get it. I'm a seller. I've had 100 leads in my pipeline. They're all in different sales cycles, and I don't have the time to sit there and customize my sales pitches. And a lot of companies and other training institutions always kind of promote the sales pitch rinse and repeat method. But at Performa, we don't like that. I want to try and maximize your time to value and really making sure that the leads you talk to and put your time into have a higher chance of conversion. And when I looked at some studies, when you customize your sales pitch, you actually increase your conversion percent by 20% likelihood. And as a salesperson, that's a lot, especially when you're calling, you're making those cold calls, and you maybe only get like 1 to 5% turnover over 100 phone calls. So let's take a step back and talk a little bit more about customization as a whole and why we will even do that. If you're familiar with Performa, we have the 4 C's. We have connect, co-create, close, and then continue. And this part, the customization, fits within that co-create part of that methodology. And what that essentially means is that when you can co-create your solution and sale with your client, it's a lot harder for them to say no because they're essentially bought in. They worked with you throughout the entire sales journey and process, that by the time it comes to close the deal, it's the only solution that they need, and it's no longer a want, it's a need. So I'm going to take an even further view from this. Let's talk about customization in today's market. So I know you're looking at everything from a seller's lens, but let's go back to being the buyer. And you are a buyer in this entire, every day today. So let's pretend like you want to buy a new pair of shoes, right? So did you notice that sometimes when you even talk about shoes, like you're with your friends and you're like, oh my God, I want the new Nikes. All of a sudden you start to see Nikes everywhere. Every time you're on your laptop and you're checking different sites, Google Ads is popping up. Pictures of these shoes, different sales and places that you can get them at. Your emails start to funnel in and start to be pointed towards these shoes. And that's called customization. Companies are realizing that they need to guess our needs before even we know what we want. And they customize every touch point to get you to buy those shoes. And it works. So why don't sellers also take on this method to help close their sales with a higher conversion rate versus just trying to sell these Nikes to everyone? But when you say you want it and then they start to show it to you, that is a qualified lead worth putting your time into. All right, so now that you get the whole customization phase and how it's really important for consumers and buyers, how do we apply that in our sales pitches? The way to do this is that when you're talking to your lead, instead of trying to sell at them, take a step back and try and understand their problems. Be a consultant. This is really the time to put your consulting hat on and try and work with them to identify their problem. So this does depend on what you're selling, but it can work for every single industry. So for example, let's say you're a real estate agent and you're out there trying to sell someone a house. You have all these leads, you're calling them saying that you have this house in this area. But do you know if they really need that house, want that house? You need to understand that first. So on the call, instead of saying I have these great properties and this is what you should be looking at and this house is this many square feet, I would just ask them questions. Turn the tables around. Ask them, say, what are you looking for in a house? What kind of area are you looking for? What kind of experience? And then let them feed that information back to you. Make a conversation and really try and build that relationship with them. And it'll be surprising because by the time you already knew what house you're trying to sell them, but having them tell you those pain points that you already identified, pretending you don't know, and then saying okay, I understand your pain points. I understand you want this. Use their own wording as well. And then put that into your pitch as you sell that house. And trust me, it works. I used to work at a large tech company within the professional services sphere, and this is what we used to do. My first call was discovery with the client, and during that time, Like, yes, sometimes I would have to talk at a high level of who we are as a company, why work with us. But I always kept it very short. I told them, I'm like, look, I'm going to flash some stats about why working with us. I will provide that to you later, and if you would like to have talk about it more, we will. But I don't want to focus this call on us. I want to focus this call on you. And why are we here today? And that opens up the whole conversation. And one of the main things I always say is, let's keep this conversational. Interrupt me at any point. I want to learn about you. And that works wonders. It loosens everybody up on the call, or you're on the phone, you're on a video chat. It just makes everyone realize that, okay, this isn't that salesy. They can take their guard down and understand that you're not just trying to sell them anything. You want to sell them something that they need and want. And a few key questions that you can ask them there is like, it depends on your product, but in my case, I would say like, okay, what are your current problems with your software? Like, why isn't this working? And then they'll start to tell me everything. And the whole time I'm actively taking notes. You have to practice active listening. A lot of times I already kind of identified the problem, but you don't want to act clueless, but you want to go and understand their industry as a whole, what kind of needs they're going into. And that shouldn't be too hard because most of your leads should be within that target audience anyways, which honestly we should do another podcast on because that's really helpful as well. You want to understand the specifics from them, and you really want to go in with that curiosity. So in my case, I would start asking about their current state, their future state, a lot of their processes, who's using the processes, and they'll start telling me all these things. And a lot of the times they start to realize the problem themselves versus me telling them their problem. And then we keep it as a conversation, and I'm like, okay, you know what? I think I have a solution for you. And then that opens the door to the next few calls. So for us, when it comes to implementation and professional services, it's a longer deal cycle. You have to do your discovery, you have scoping, and then I can put together a proposal and sell that back. But what I like to do is make sure I keep the client with me throughout the entire process. Identify my champion, identify my decision maker. You don't have to bring a decision maker along the whole journey with you, but if you have a strong champion, make sure they're in the loop. Have them as part of these scoping conversations. Like, of course, they're gonna bring in their team, but keep them in the loop even if they can't join those calls, and identify these problems with them. When it comes to your proposal, build it out and then say, you know what, can I show this to you first? I want to make sure I really captured what we've heard and what approach we're going through. And sometimes they'll add tweaks, and make sure you add them in, because now it shows that this proposal isn't just me selling it to you. We built this together. You know what solution this is, and you're the one who told me what you needed. Now the only part is to sell the money behind it. So it's a great process. It brings them on, and the conversion rate skyrockets. Because at this point, you're not just selling a number. You're not just putting like, this is going to be 500K, and they're like, whoa, I don't even know how we got there. No, because now you showed that they have 20 problems, and you need this much like people and resources to come in and fix it. So when they see that 500K, they're like, okay, I get it. This is a 500K, this is a, well, not a 500K problem, but essentially it's $1 million problem, and it's going to take this to fix it. And a lot of the times it helps. And then by the time you get up to that decision maker to start talking through everything, your champion is bought in, the decision maker has heard about this problem several times, and they're ready to fix it, and they're ready to fix it with you. So that's how I like to customize my sales pitches to my customers, using that co-creation method. All right, so now that you understand how you can customize your sales pitches and sales journey for a lot of your customers, let's summarize that and talk about some skills that can help you do that. So one of the things I like to do is be authentic. And I'm sure you heard these words lots of times. Build trust with your clients. And that can be tough sometimes because as a salesperson, you understand that when clients come into the sale, they know you're selling them. So the relationship is already skewed from a mutual relationship to different types of ownership and powers that are distributed. That can change how your buyer acts towards you. But as a seller, you have to try and stay in control of the entire process and try and change the way you and your buyer are communicating. So one of the ways I do this is that when we first start talking, they're already on guard. They know you're trying to sell them. They may have the budget, they may not, but they know that you're here for a reason. In the end, it's money. So you don't want to hide that, but you need to try and change the way you act. So some of the way I do this is that first I need to identify how that buyer is acting. And you can use the DISC assessment to do that. And if you visit my website, you can see like I have an assessment there with a DISC assessment and some tips around that. So, and definitely have another podcast episode surrounding how to identify them quickly and then how you can leverage that. But one of the ways to do it is I first ask, like, how is your day going? I kind of see how the client's reacting, and then I put them in that slot. And then I have to adapt my behavior to match that. And that's one way that you can build trust in a relationship with your client. If you're a certain type of seller and you're not clicking with that client, you need to change the way you're working because you're not going to change them. You can soften them throughout the cycle once you build that relationship, but right off the bat, you need to build an instant connection within the first few minutes of your first discussion with them. If you don't build trust within the first 10, 15 seconds, I don't think you're going to be able to sell them. From the way you say hello, the way you talk to them, it completely sets the stage of your discussion. So first, you have to connect. And that's part of the 4 C's again, right? Connect. That's the first stage. Connect with your client, soften your pitch, make it more conversational and consultative versus you pitching at them. So I would say tip number 1, build trust in a relationship with your client. Number 2, be consultative. Come in as a trusted advisor. Don't come in as a seller. Be a seller always. You'll always be selling, but don't let the client see that side of you, because then it's always going to be a competition and negotiation from the entire point. And you want to keep the negotiation till later. You want to be able to sell them and co-create with them. So connect with them, build a relationship, be consultative, and then we go into that co-create and customize the experience for them. From day 1, you don't want them to know you're using a rinse and repeat method. You try and customize it as much as you can. It takes a few more minutes. Make sure you qualify your leads a little bit more so you're not spending hours behind each client. And you really don't. It's not a method that you have to sit there and understand the client before you even meet them. You can pick up the phone, but turn the tables on them and ask them questions and get them to talk to you. That's the way to do it, and that's the way to customize it. Let them be part of that customization cycle so you can maximize the amount of calls you're making and the discovery calls you're going on without having to spend too much time between each one. So then ask questions. That's the next piece there as well. And then once you're getting that solution, you're building it, build it with them. Make sure they're part of that. When you're putting that approach together, show it to them. You don't have to show them the financials and commercials before. Show them the approach. Say, this is what I'm thinking to show you and your team. What do you think? Did we capture your needs correctly? These are the key questions to the client understanding, wow, okay, she's just not trying to sell me anything. She wants to make sure that what she's selling to me is what I need. And that's the key component here into making your sales cycle very successful. And then in the end, close it. You have to close the deal. You can't just keep being their friend, and you can't just keep co-solutioning with them. Make sure you stay in control of the deal cycle and you keep running them through that. So with that, you have to create a mutual plan with them, understand their timelines, try and identify the budget straight out of the bat before you even go through all this. And that is part of the sales cycle methodology that we can talk on more. And then in the end, when you close that deal, don't just leave that relationship. You have to continue, which is that 4C. Keep talking to them, check in on them. Depending on what you're selling, sometimes you send that solution to them, you loop into PM, and then they finish the project, and you go on to the next client. Stay in the loop, trust me. Go on to those kickoffs, do quarterly check-ins, run QBRs with them, depending on what it is. But stay in that relationship. If you're a real estate agent, send a letter, send a Christmas card. Do something so they know that you didn't forget them, and it wasn't fake. Because when clients feel that the salesperson was their best friend, taking them out for dinners, being on their side throughout the sales cycle, and the moment it closes, they pull back out, your repeat customer base will decrease. And you need these customers to repeat, or at least have the word of mouth where they're telling friends that you're a great person and company to work with. That is incredible. You need word of mouth. And everyone knows word of mouth has the largest conversion rate out of any lead generation strategy out there. And so that should be your goal. You want to create your customer for life. Yeah, so I think that covers it for today's session on customization in the sales pitches. So I hope today's session is turning everyone into a high performance seller. That's the ultimate goal of High Performa. Not just creating high performer sellers for today, but we're creating them for a sustainable future. You want to be a high performer today, and you want to be a high performer 10 years from now. And that's what our methodology is. We want to work with you to make sure that you're able to change with the industry. I'd love to hear from you all on how you've done this with any customers, and love to hear how that's going. So you can reach out to me anytime on my website. You can submit any questions that you have that we can talk about in other sessions as well. But signing out tonight by Ami Trivedi from High Performa. Bye for now, and good luck on your sales cycles. If you found this episode valuable, please make sure to subscribe, rate, and review so more sellers like you can discover the show. And if you're serious about taking your sales game to the next level, check out thehighperforma.com for training and coaching designed to help you win more deals and future-proof your success. I'll see you next time. Until then, keep pushing, keep improving, and keep closing. And don't forget to ask for it.